Hello there, students. Welcome to another video for Intro to Spreadsheets. In this video, as you can see here, I am joining you, so you can actually see me. That could be a good thing or a bad thing. I'm not sure how all of you will feel about that. But what I wanted to do was kind of present you with another way of watching a video for a virtual class. When you go off to college, if you do take a virtual class, in many of those classes, the professor or the instructor will likely leave video lectures as you've been watching in this class. But in many cases, you may actually see the professor on screen. So we're trying this out. If I'm too scary and you can't get through the videos because of my presence, just leave me some feedback and we'll take those out. What we're going to explore in this lesson is another function for spreadsheets. Now, I know that for the last couple weeks we've been looking at several functions and you've been learning quite a few. I've noticed actually in some of your assignments you're actually putting in some functions that we haven't discussed, and although it's a good idea to explore your spreadsheet and figure out what other functions are there, because we will certainly not cover them all, I want to caution you about adding too much to your assignments for this class. They're really geared toward the things that we have covered. So if you're adding things that we haven't covered, you're probably not on the right track. You're probably not completing the assignments as they were intended. So try to limit yourself to the things that are in this lesson, or in these lessons, so that you can get the best grade that you can receive on those assignments. But we're going to take a look at a function in this video which is very different from the other functions that we've looked at so far. This function has the capability of making decisions, and based on that decision it can do one of two different things. The function that we're going to learn is called the if function. So let's take a look at the spreadsheet here and how we would actually go about using that. So in my test spreadsheet here, I have two columns. I have column B, which has a label of student averages, and I have column C, which has a label of pass-fail. The goal of this spreadsheet is to set up a formula or a function so that when the grade is entered over here, I get the word pass or the word fail based on what this value is. Now, using the if function in the spreadsheet, I can accomplish this. So let's take a look at what the if function actually allows us to do. I'm using Google Sheets here, and you can see here on screen we have a little preview of what the if function does. So let's take a look at each section of the if function, and then I will demonstrate how this actually works. The first section you see there is test. And you can see in the paragraph that it says test is any value or expression that can be true or false. So essentially what I'm going to do is I'm going to put some kind of a test into this section that the spreadsheet can evaluate as true or false. True or false. For those of you that are programmers, we call this a Boolean value. In mathematics, we call this a logic value. So something that's true or false. Now in mathematics, we have the ability of creating these tests or these conditions that will evaluate to true or false. And we can do that with equal signs. You know, is this equal to that? We can use greater than or less than symbols. Is this greater than that, or is this less than that? Those are the kind of tests that we can provide the if function in order for it to make its decision. So that's the test. In our particular case, the test is this average passing? So we're going to have to think about how we can actually express that situation as a test, and we'll come back to that. Let's take a look at the next section. There we see then underscore value. So after test we have comma and then value. This section is for what we want the spreadsheet to do or display if that test was true. So if the test comes out to true, the next section is going to be what the spreadsheet does. After that, we have a comma, and it says otherwise value, or that could be the false value. What do we want the spreadsheet to do if that test ends up being false? So this is actually a pretty neat function because it gives us the ability to put one of two different things based on this test. So if the test comes out true, we can put one thing. If the test comes out false, we can put something completely different. So let's actually go back to our situation and take a look. I'm going to put a parenthesis here, so my guide, my help is now gone. So let's take a look at what we can do here. The test for this particular situation, I can structure in a couple different ways. Let's take a look at it in general. What I want to do is I want to see if this value over here, the student average, is passing. Now this is an HCA class, so passing would be a 65 or above. So what I'm going to ask the spreadsheet to do is to test whether or not B4 is greater than or equal to 65. So what you can see here on my screen is that I typed B4, actually I referenced B4, and then to type in greater than or equal to, I put a greater than symbol and then followed that by the equal sign. Now, if that's a little bit awkward to you, that's completely understandable because most people wouldn't have recognized that as greater than or equal to initially. But if you take a look at your keyboard, you'll notice there is no greater than or equal to symbol. So in order to accomplish that particular operation, we need to utilize the two symbols there. So that's how we do it, greater than or equal to. So this reads if B4 is greater than or equal to 65. All right, now that's the test. Excel will take B4, it will take 65, and if B4 is greater than or equal to 65, what will happen here is we will get a true value. If it is not greater than or equal to 65, the resulting value would be false. So that tells the spreadsheet what to do. If it is true, it's going to go to the next section. If it's false, it's going to go to the third section. So let's define the second section. What do we want the spreadsheet to do if that test ends up being true? Well, we want to display the word pass. So I'm going to type pass. Now, if you get ahead of me, I just want to mention that we're going to actually end up with an error here, so just be patient, or if you do go ahead, make sure you come back and see my explanation. Now, if we want the spreadsheet to type that word, pass, we put that in the second section, but what if the test is false? What do we want it to put? Well, we want to put fail, right? So if B4 is greater than or equal to 65, we want the word pass, otherwise we want the word fail. So those are the three sections. We have the test, we have the then value or the true value, and then we have the otherwise value or the false value. So if this is true, do this one. If this is false, do the last one. All right, let's close the parentheses there, and we'll hit enter to see what we get. Oh no, and you see here that I get an error here. Unknown range name pass is what Google Sheets is telling me. Excel might tell you something different. Well, here's the problem. We pretty much did this correctly, but I kind of led you astray a little bit. The word pass here, when I put that, what the spreadsheet's actually looking for is the name pass. Essentially, this is not something that we've done before, but I will mention it. You can give a cell or a collection of cells a name. So if you wanted to refer to like a range of cells as a name, then you could assign it a name. And that's not a skill that we're getting into right now, but suffice it to say that when I typed the word pass here, Excel was looking for the name of a cell or a range of cells called pass, and it couldn't find it. So that's why we got the name error. Likewise, it could not find a name called fail, and so it would have given us an error if this grade was actually a failing grade. What you need to do here is actually put the words in quotation marks. So if you actually want the textual element pass to be printed to your spreadsheet, you need to put that in quotation marks. If we just wanted a value put there, then all we have to do is type the value. We could also use a cell reference. We could use a cell name, as we saw here. But if we want some actual text to be printed, then we need to use the double quotation marks. So now that I've added that, if I hit enter, you can see here that the word pass was printed in column C. So I'm going to center align that. Now, how do I apply that to every value in this column? Well, in previous lessons we've learned that we can use the fill handle for this. So if I click and drag this down, you can see here that my spreadsheet copied that formula down using these relative cell references. And we can see here that all of the failing grades actually came out to be fail. Now, we could make that a little bit more complicated if we want, and we'll see that in a second part of this lesson. But for the first part, let's examine how else we could have also structured this condition. What if I didn't want to make the condition if B4 is greater than or equal to 65? What if I said if B4 is less than 65? In this particular case, what I'm doing is actually creating the test to see if the grade is a failing grade. Before, the test was to see if the grade was a passing grade. Now, is that going to alter the rest of my formula? Well, absolutely, because now instead of a true value for a passing grade, really what this is going to give me is a false value for a failing grade. So whatever the truth value is of this, that's going to dictate what we put in the second and the third section. So if I'm testing to see if this grade is a failing grade, if that ends up being true, then I don't want to put pass. Here is where I would want to put fail. And if this was false, if it was not a failing grade, then it must be a passing grade, and that's where I want to put pass. So you could have structured your formula either way. You could have tested for the passing grade and then put pass and then fail, or you could have tested for the failing grade and then put fail and then pass. The situation that you use the if function for is going to vary, and it's going to dictate what you do. And I just wanted to show you here that you could actually structure it either way, as long as you have the appropriate true value and false value in your function. You can set it up however you wish.